friends, and welcome back to my channel. I've been making a lot of 2021 wrap-up content recently, so it's time to switch up and make some 2022 content. I've decided to split this into two and do one video talking about my goals for the year ahead and the other video doing what specific books I want to read in 2022. Today's video are all of my reading goals for the year ahead. My reading goal this year for the amount of books I want to read is 52, which is a book a week, because I want to make sure that I am at least reading a little bit. Even if I have like a time where I'm not reading as much, I still want to make sure that I am striving towards at least one book a week. As well as a number of books, I also want to set myself a pages challenge. I'm not sure whether to count audiobooks as pages because Storygraph doesn't, which I think they should. If they're not going to count your audiobooks towards your page goal, then they should at least have a section that tells you how many hours of audio you've listened to and have that as like a separate thing. Or as like a separate challenge or something, because I feel like there are some people that exclusively listen to audiobooks and don't read pages. That irritates me a little bit about Storygraph. I've set myself a page goal. I've gone on a massive tangent. My pages goal is 42,000 because last year I set it at 40,000, so I wanted to up it a little bit because I'm wanting to read longer books this year and not have the fear of longer books. I very much stick within the 300 to 500 category, and I don't read a lot of books that are either under that or above that, so I would like to read more books that are above 500 pages. Another reading goal for this year is that I want to read more non-fiction, because last year I only read 3 non-fiction books, which actually took me by surprise. I thought I had read more non-fiction, but turns out I didn't. I have a few autobiographies that have been on my shelf for a while that I would like to get to, because one of the things I want to read more about is things that I love. So reading autobiographies or biographies about people that I admire, I really want to do more of. I want to read more about things that I enjoy, so like music and composition. I have Judy Walters' autobiography. I've had that for a while. I would like to read that because Judy Walters is, I love her. Fun fact, we grew up literally around the corner from each other. Obviously, she grew up a few years before me, but the house that she grew up in was around the corner from the house that I grew up in. So we're from the same area, and I admire her, and I would love to have a career like she's had. And obviously she worked really closely with Victoria Wood, again someone whose a career I really admire. So yeah, basically I just want to read more about things that I love. Sticking with the genre theme, another goal of mine is to not read less fantasy, but just to expand the kind of books that I read. Obviously I'm going to continue reading fantasy because I love it and it is my favourite genre, but I would like to pick up books that are not necessarily something that I would usually gravitate towards. Maybe try out more contemporary. I tend to have a bit of a love-hate relationship with contemporary. I just want to expand the kind of genres that I usually gravitate towards, because as much as I love fantasy, it's just nice to broaden your range a little bit. And the final sort of genre goal, I guess, is to read more classics, because I have really enjoyed the few classics that I have read, and there are so many books that I think I missed out on reading because I didn't study English literature at school. So I would like to get over my fear of classics and read some more. An author that I want to read more books of this year is V. Schwab. The only book that I've actually read by her is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but that quickly became one of my all-time favourite books. And obviously her new book, Gallant, is coming out in March, so that is a book that I'm very excited for, which is a standalone, I believe. I love a good standalone. Yes, this year I would like to read more books by V. Schwab. And my final reading goal for 2022 is to reread the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I absolutely love this trilogy, but I haven't read it in quite a few years, and whereas with The Hobbit I tend to return to that quite a lot, I haven't returned to the trilogy because it's so much longer. So far I'm doing very well. I have read The Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers, and I am about to start The Return of the King, and I'm absolutely loving this reread. I highly recommend returning to old favourites. I'm also annotating my copies. You know what, I'm going to show you. I read The Fellowship of the Ring more than I read the complete trilogy, if I'm honest. I tend to return to this one more, or I did when I was a teenager, because I love The Fellowship. The Fellowship is definitely my favourite of the 3 books. This is my copy of The Return of the King. As you can see, it's a little bit bent up, but it is nothing compared to my copy of The Fellowship of the Ring. This book is just falling apart. I have annotated it, I've underlined stuff. This is my copy of The Two Towers, again, annotated and underlined, but not as, doesn't fall open in the same way that The Fellowship does, so it's not as well loved. I'm 2/3 of the way to actually completing that goal already. I just need to reread The Return of the King. How did I read it? I must have read it like that. To be fair, for people that don't like cracking the spine, or creasing the spine, sorry I should say, cracking the spine is a different thing. For those who don't like creasing the spine, these smaller size, the like pocket size mass market paperback, are much easier to not crease because you can read them like this, because they're smaller. So those are my reading goals for 2022, and make sure to keep an eye out for my next video, which will be 22 books that I want to read in 2022. Make sure to let me know your reading goals in the comments, because I'm always very intrigued to know what you lot are up to. If you like this video, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already, then make sure to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, guys, and happy reading.